we are going to be going over one of my favorite X guard entries from the Riva position, right? A lot of times, guys, when you look at X guard, is everyone here familiar with X guard? Right? I feel like Professor goes over X guard quite a good amount too. X guard is such an effective position, guys. But typically, guys, when you guys look at X guard is that type of guard where usually you need to use another guard to transition to X guard. X guard isn't really that type of guard that you can immediately go into. So one of the guards that I like to utilize to put me into X guard is the Riva. So before I show you guys the entry, let me show you guys the response that the person on top is going to be utilizing for this technique. So I'm going to be on top of Ralph, and Ralph is going to play the Riva on me here. He's going to have the foot on the hip, and he's going to have a grip at the collar. So we're going to be starting from this position. Now let me ask you guys a question. A lot of times, typically, what do you guys think that your partner would like to do to this hook? What are they trying to do to this hook, guys? Anyone have an idea? Sleep. Oh no, you're the top person. Oh. What are you doing to this hook? What would you typically like to do to this hook? Maybe push it down, right? So let me show you guys something to think about. If you're the top person and you push the Riva hook down, but most of your weight is centered on the front leg, it's pretty easy for Ralph to bring his knees to his chest and off balance me. So typically when you guys frame and shut down the Riva hook, a lot of times you're going to use a concept called counterbalance. And counterbalancing, guys, is when you put weight to the opposite side so you can generate a strong frame on the near side, right? So look at this. Instead of pushing his hook down with my weight here centered on the front leg where he can bring his knees to his chest and off balance me, what I'm gonna do, and I'll show you guys from the side here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna anchor my weight to my back hip so that I can generate a straight arm with my right hand, right? So look at this. See, because if my shoulder's forward, if you guys notice, if my shoulder's forward, it's very easy for my elbow to bend. And then I'm not able to generate a straight arm frame. What I wanna do is I wanna straighten my arm. So look how I bring my weight back to my back hip, and I frame to remove the Riva hook. That's a very common response that you guys will see. Your partner's gonna anchor their weight on the back hip. So look at my hip. I anchor my weight on my back hip, and that allows me to straighten my arm. I see that? So that's gonna be the response that we're gonna see from the top person. So I'm gonna play Riva on top. He's gonna have his shoulders forward. I have my foot at the hip. When his shoulders are forward, it's fairly easy to access the cross-collar grip. Obviously, if he's standing straight up, it's a different situation. So specifically in this situation, his shoulders are gonna be forward. I grab a cross-collar. Typically, guys, when you utilize a cross-collar grip, what you wanna do is you wanna line up this grip with this collarbone. So I require a cross-collar grip. I have my frame at his hip, not his inner thigh, guys. Specifically, we want to frame at the hip. And then I have the Riva hook from here. Another concept, especially if you guys are just starting out in jiu-jitsu, one thing that's very important to accomplish is you want to keep your shoulders, always keep your shoulders and your hips in the same line. Anytime that your shoulders and your hips are misaligned, your body naturally becomes much weaker. So when you guys are playing guard, make it a habit of keeping your shoulders and your hips in the same line. So here, I have the Riva, cross collar, my shoulders and my hips are in the same line. Now from here, on the opposite side, you can grip the ankle, which is perfect. But specifically in this situation, with us setting up the X guard, I'm gonna utilize a pant grip. I'm gonna turn this way so you guys can see. Specifically, I'm gonna utilize a pant grip, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my thumb upwards so that I can align my wrist, my elbow, and my shoulder. Anytime that your wrist and your elbow and your shoulder is misaligned, your grip and the grip strength that you can generate is much weaker. So it's shoulders forward. See from here, look at this. You see how my elbow my wrists and my shoulders misalign, it's pretty easy for Ralph to grab my sleeve. I pull it up. Super easy for him to break it. Look at how I turn my thumb up and I align my wrists, elbow, and my shoulder. Now Ralph's gonna utilize the response that we spoke about. He's gonna counterbalance and he's gonna frame with his right arm to remove the, see how strong this is? A little bit lower. Excellent, you see that? Look at it, he's so strong from here. And if you guys notice, Ralph's doing a great job of counterbalancing and his weight's on his back hip. But what does that mean? Because his weight is primarily distributed to his back hip, his front leg becomes a little bit lighter. In this reaction, we are going to utilize a movement called a hip switch. A hip switch is, remember the concept that I spoke about. Always keeping our shoulders and our hips in the same line. If I try to pull Ralph and I turn my shoulders, but my hips remain facing this way, I'm going to feel very weak. So look what I do. I keep my body in the same line, and I'm simply going to pivot to my right hip. You guys notice? I'm on my left hip, I'm going to pivot to my right hip. See that? Look at how his leg is elevated. Now from here, I swim my foot inside to elevate this leg. Now look at how my elbow and my forearm comes in the inside part of his ankle. Now from this situation, I can slide my top hook through. I can acquire the bottom hook as well. I place his ankle on top of my shoulder, staying on my right hip so that I can keep his foot elevated. I control slightly above the knee, bringing my elbow to my hip to prevent his knee from bending. So one more time. A little bit more. So we're in the belly loop. I have the cross collar. Remember, I keep my shoulders and my hips in the same line. Very important. I turn them. He counterbalances to remove the hook. I can't place my hook back in, but I can feel most of his weight is on the back hip. Because most of his weight is in the back hip, his forward leg becomes much lighter. I hip switch. I bring my foot inside. My elbow comes inside. My top hook comes in. My bottom hook comes in as well. I stay on my right hip to keep this leg elevated. This is very important. I want you guys to notice something. If I flatten my back, look how naturally his foot comes to the mat. Right? And now with his foot on the mat, he can start putting pressure and he can start stepping out with his back leg. And then he can start clearing the external. So super important, guys, that we keep ourselves on the right hip from here. One second. And just remember, guys, with this hook here, with this frame, specifically it's at the hip. It's at the hip. If you place your foot in the inner thigh, it's pretty easy for Ralph to push my foot down, and then now he can remove the hook, the frame, So one more time. Frame at the hip. I have my grip at the cross collar. I turn my thumb up. Look at how I align my elbow, my wrist, and my shoulder. It's all in the same line to create a very strong grip. He counterbalances to remove my hook. I hip switch. I bring my foot inside. Top hook comes in, back hook comes in as well. I control slightly above his knee, bringing my elbow to the side of my hip to prevent him from bending his knee. What happens if he's able to bend his knee? If your partner is able to bend their knee, what happens is that he can place his knee on my chest. See that? Look how he's putting his weight on my chest. Now he's putting his weight back on top of me. I want to keep his weight off of me. So I keep myself pivoted to the right hip, preventing his knee from bending. And then we're here next time. Just to review the movement one more time, and then I'll incorporate a sweep, because a lot of you guys got it down. Now we'll incorporate a sweep that you guys can utilize. So, when you guys are utilizing the hip switch motion, of course you're applying a certain amount of pull at the collar, but just think about it, it's as simple as this, guys. When you utilize the hip switch, keep your body, like I said, from a fundamental perspective, keep your shoulders and your hips always facing the same direction, as if your body was one complete piece, right? As if you couldn't be moving in separate ways with the torso, right? Keep your body aligned in the same motion. right? Anytime, like I said, not just Deli Evo, any guard in general. The easiest way I can explain it is this. Most of you guys, I'm sure, have lifted weights either daily or at some point in your guys' life you've lifted weights, right? If you guys utilize a dumbbell, a barbell squat, you have everything in the same line, right? You have your toes facing this direction, you have your hips facing this direction, and your shoulders as well. Imagine you have an incredibly heavy weight that you're lifting. What if I were to tell you, okay, turn your hips a little bit this way, right? Would you be able to generate the same amount of power safely? I don't think so, right? You want to keep your shoulders and your hips facing the same direction. It's very important. So one more time. Remember, when you guys incorporate the cross collar grip, typically you want to grab near the collar. It's not incorrect to grab low, but I feel like when you grab low at the collar, you're not able to manipulate his posture as much as possible, right? So I want to grab closer towards his collarbone, and when I grab the cross collar grip, guys, specifically, I'll even get into detail of this. I like to turn my wrist slightly in this type of way here. I don't just keep my wrist completely straight. I have a slight curl at my wrist to incorporate an even stronger grip from here. And don't forget, guys, specifically, I'm placing my foot at the hip. I'm not placing it at the inner thigh. I'm not placing it at his knee. Specifically, we want to place our frame at the hip, guys. This is so crucial. If I place my foot at his inner thigh, it's extremely easy for Ralph to push my foot down, step over, and now we're in a different situation. Not the end of the world, but now we don't have a frame at his hip. And that's gonna cause some issue for this specific movement. Let's just back up one. So from here, I have my frame at the hip, cross collar. When I acquire the pad grip, turn my thumb up, I align my shoulder, elbow, and my wrist. Now here, Ralph is gonna utilize the counterbalance concept to straighten it. See that, look at, I can't put my hook back in. No matter what, I can't put my hook back in because Ralph has his arm completely straight, right? Because he's properly counterbalancing. I want you guys to see something. If Ralph brings his weight to this side, look at how his shoulder comes forward. And look, I can put my hook back in because he lost the integrity of the straight arm frame. Look at how he counterbalances. And I can't bring my hook back in. But it's perfect because with him counterbalancing, most of his weight is at that back heel. Then I pivot to my hip. Look at this, guys. My shoulders and my hips face the same direction. Don't forget the baby hook, guys. If you guys, and this is for the more experienced practitioners, if you guys don't want to incorporate the baby hook, that's no problem. But typically, if you don't use the baby hook, you're probably going to Ossah Garami first, right? So look, you can go to Ossah Garami from here. Perfect. This is great too. This is excellent. But specifically for X guard, we want to elevate this leg as much as possible. So he counterbalances, removes the hook, a head switch, baby hook. Look at how I'm really elevating this leg. My top hook comes in, my bottom hook comes in. Foot comes to the top of the shoulder, I control above the knee. And then look how he has his hands planted on the bed. So now that we transition to X guard, let me show you guys a few details for you guys to incorporate from X guard. I remember when I first learned X guard as like a blue belt, even like when I was a purple belt and I first learned X guard, I'm like, man, it feels strong, but then sometimes you get those guys that like squat on top of your legs and they feel very heavy. So let me show you guys a detail that I use to make it so much more effective and efficient. So when we're in X guard, we'll go all the way to X guard. So when we're in X guard, I want to show you guys something. If you guys notice specifically, I'm bringing my top hook all the way to the opposite side head. All the way to the opposite side head. Let me show you guys one thing. If I place my foot, like even just a little bit towards the middle, Ralph, can you come on top a little bit more? Yes. So look at this. If my foot is like in the middle here, I want you guys to see something. If Ralph squats, look at my leg. You see how it bends? Right? Now I'm using a lot of strength to keep him up. Now I'm trying to kick him up. And now I'm just even putting myself at possible risk of getting injured just because I'm trying to overcompensate from here. But look at this, guys. Keep your weight on top of me. Look at this. I place my hook all the way on the opposite side hip. Now when Ralph tries to squat, his butt is gonna be right on top of the shin bone here. So it doesn't matter how much weight he puts down, it doesn't affect my hook. Try to squat out. I can't. See? Because it's right on top of my shin bone. One more time. If my foot's here, look how he can squat. And he can put his weight back on top of me. Right? Now he feels very heavy. I bring my hook all the way across with my shin bone right underneath his hamstring and his butt. Right? And look at this, guys. When I turn to my hip, naturally that keeps the foot off the mat. Right? The more that my back comes to the mat, the more this foot comes to the mat, and then he can put his weight back on top of me. Not the end of the world, but then it's so much more difficult to control from you guys. So we want to pivot to our head. Now let me ask you guys a question. We're going to go to the sweep now. Let me ask you guys a question. He's got his hands on the mat. What do you think his next course of action will be to regain some balance? He's got his hands on the mat. What do you think he's going to do? Try to sit back up. He's going to want to posture back up and sit back up exactly. See? So here's the cool thing about X-Guard that I want you guys to understand. Typically from X-Guard, you're either putting your opponent's hands to the mat or you're putting their butt to the mat, right? If he falls backwards, he falls on his butt. If he falls forward, he falls on his hands, right? So you want to use either or. You're not forcing anything. You're just flowing with what your opponent presents to you. And of course, you can manipulate them as well, right? So look at this. I place his hands on the mat. He doesn't like that, so he's going to posture. Then I take him backwards. I use my top hook to take him back, and I use my bottom hook to chop at the ankle. Now from here, if you guys notice, let's go check this. Now from here, sorry. Now from here, if you guys notice, my leg is strapped, so I cannot just come up. So look what I do from here. I use my bottom hook to bring his ankle to me. See that? I use his bottom hook to bring his ankle to me. I bring my foot behind his knee to elongate, then I come up to my elbow. Now look, my leg comes underneath. And here's a simple thing that I've learned that made coming up for me so much easier. It's difficult to come up if your legs are in front of you. See this? If my legs are in front of me, it's difficult for me to come back up. So in order for me to come back up, my legs eventually need to come behind me. So watch this. At least one of my legs needs to come behind me. And that allows me to come up very easily. Okay, so one more time. A little bit more length. From the beginning. So, Riva, counterbalance. Get the grip, counterbalance, very good. Comes here. His hands are on the mat. He doesn't like that, so he tries to come back. I place his butt on the mat. I use my bottom hook. See, here I cannot reach. I use my bottom hook to bring his ankle to me. You can grip the material, guys. You can grip the material, or you can grip his ankle. Either or is perfectly fine. I grab the material. Foot comes in the back. My leg comes underneath my leg. I come up to my elbow. Very important. You guys can see this. I come up to my elbow. So real easy. It's kind of just like when you're in fundamentals class and you learn how to move your leg back, technical get up, right? Like a simple technical get up. Your leg comes underneath and you're coming up from here. I'm going to show you guys the sweep again, and I'll show you one more different way that you can come up. You need an easy way. So let's go all the way to X-ray. So from here, guys, I have his hands on the mat. If I know for sure that he's about to fall backwards to his butt, if I know that for sure, in the process of sweeping, I'll remove my top hook, and that's gonna make it super easy to come up into a double understack position. Check this out. So let's see he's here with his hands. And also think about it this way, guys. If his weight's on his hands, you're not gonna be able to sweep him backwards. So specifically, this sweep works really nice when he tries to come back up and he puts weight on his butt. You guys see how I took out my hook? Look how easy it is for me to come up. The only reason why it was difficult to come up is because your leg's inside. But as soon as you remove your hook, it's super easy to end up in this double understack position. All the way to the end. See that? When I remove my hook, it's super easy for me to come up. So you guys can use either or method, right? If your hook is stuck, no problem. Just bring the far side foot to you, grab the ankle, and then you can come up. If you're confident that he's about to fall over, you can remove the top hook. Super easy to come up in a nice double understack. Super strong position as well, right? Because imagine you sweep them and automatically you get to a nice passing position. You know, that's what you want to progress to, right? Because when you guys are doing jiu-jitsu, of course you want to sweep your opponent from guards, right? Sweep or submit. But if you sweep them, you don't want to sweep them and then they get a good position to sweep you back. It's even better if you can sweep them and then you put yourself in a nice passing position and you can get straight to business and progress position. You guys have any questions? Any questions? So person on top, when you're in X guard, your hands are on the mat. You want to develop the response, posture back up. As you're posturing back up, person on bottom, use the top hook to chop. The bottom hook is going to come from the knee down to the ankle, and you can work yourself back to the back sweep. Any questions? Let's go, guys. 2 for 2. Grab a partner. If you guys have any questions during the drilling, let me know. What did